This is Off the Record, a radio playlist where I help you discover new artists and new music. Welcome back to episode 2, season 2. You guys, today we have two incredible guests. Harvey Brittain and Cortes are both here to talk about their projects, their latest releases coming up. Those are two artists that I'm excited for you to hear these interviews. I'm excited for you to dive into discographies. It's going to be good. But before we dive into that, we got to go over new releases. Now, the mainstream new release that took the cake this week, and I feel bad because I talked a little bit of shit about this guy last week, is Somber and his song Homewrecker. He's killing it with bringing this classic 70s disco vibe to this modern age version of the tracks that he's doing, and Homewrecker is the prime example of that. Last week I talked a little smack. I was like, Harvey Brittain is who Somber wishes he was, and I actually still agree with what I said, even though it made some people a little unhappy. But I will say this, I love what Somber's doing. I do love what Somber's doing as an artist. And so Homewrecker, it's fun, it's infectious. Those are my two notes I wrote on it, and it's disco. And then Maddox, she released I Want a Boyfriend. Now, I'm enjoying this folk pop girl energy that we're seeing across the ways, especially with Stella Lefley and her song Thinking About You. This definitely has that kind of energy, and I think that's what I love most about this track this week. And then my boy Dylan Denton. Now, Dylan Denton released his track, All the Things You Said, and if you recognize that name, it's because he posts a lot of covers, and the music he was primarily putting out is folk, but he's doing a cool full 180. We're gonna see a bunch of disco pop from him, and this is a great way to kick that off of the project that he's working on. So you be on the lookout for Mr. Dylan Denton, because trust me, he's someone you're gonna want to keep your eyes on. And then Samuel Newman and his song Blinkers. We're going to talk about this when I talk with Harvey Brittain, and ever since he brought it up in the interview, when we get there, you'll hear it. I've been thinking about it, but there's this particular sound coming out of the UK right now that is infectious. We're seeing it with Olivia Dean, Sam Fender. We hear it in Harvey's music. And when you hear this track, it definitely fits in that sonic world that we're seeing come out of the UK, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. So I hope you enjoy this week's new releases. This is Off the Record, a radio playlist where I help you discover new artists and new music. I am here with Harvey Brittain, who not only is an incredible performer, but just overall well-rounded an artist you need to keep your eyes on. I'd like to call it as indie pop rock. Harvey, how are you doing today?
He's there. How are you, mate?
I'm here with you, ready to party, man.
You are so sweet. Thank you for having me on this. This is a real treat to a Wednesday morning, mate. I have to say.
The other day you sent me a message and you're like, hey, I'm playing a show in LA. And I literally raced over there from work. I'm done with dealing with 60 kids in the middle of my day. And dude, you put on an electric performance. I was telling you before, sometimes you go out and you see shows and people stand up there like Lincoln Logs, but you really are a performer. And I think that's so fun about your music is after experiencing it live, going back and hearing the tracks, it takes you back to that place. I'm really curious, who are your musical inspirations? And not so much who you were discovering growing up, but who was playing music around you and what were you listening to?
Yeah, well, firstly, that is extremely charming of you to say such lovely things about my live show today. Thank you for coming. It was a real pleasure to have you, and I'm glad you enjoyed the show. And absolute credit to my the guys who play with me live as well, who, by the way, make me sound way better than I do in real life, I promise.
Well, that really quick. That was really cool when at the end you were going over where everyone was from. I was like, this is probably one of the most universal bands I will ever experience.
Yeah. Well, the band it's pretty European, other than my guitarist, he was from Brazil originally, but they're all amazing. Yeah, it's great. Well, thanks again for coming. Again, thanks for having me on the show. Actual legend. Music has been a massive part of my kind of upbringing since I was a kid, to be honest. And, first started playing an instrument when I was 4. Started playing piano when I was 4 or 5.
Oh, interesting.
very much my dad who inspired me to get into it. And one thing that's funny, I guess, about my kind of journey is that, like, technically I'm a horrendous musician, and what I mean by that is like classically I am terrible. I can't read music. I can't I don't really know much about like the classical theory side. I was very much a jazz guy growing up, and so it was my dad who really inspired me. He played piano, drums, guitar, and I just grew up listening to jazz. I
Yeah.
like literally the greats like Chick Corea, Oscar Peterson, Herbie Hancock, and started playing when I was like 4. It was at my grandma's house on her old upright piano, and started doing that every night after school. I'd go over, I'd have a cup of tea because I'm British, of course, and I just play some piano. I'd watch my dad like shred, and it was very much a moving experience for me. And one thing led to another, and when I got older, when I was like 8 or 9, I started singing. I started taking like piano lessons,
Okay.
but I always struggled because it was like classical music, and I just wanted to like shred. And I found that I had a decent ear, so I could hear things and listen back to them and play them quite easily.
Yeah.
But when I had to read the music, I really struggled, which very much got me on to like getting into more of the kind of pop scene. So pulling some of those jazz influences that I'd learned on the piano. And one of the first like artist I ever got onto is one of my all-time idols is Jamie Cullum, who massive UK pop jazz artist in UK and Europe. Maybe not quite as big in the US. Definitely has played here loads. But that was like the first like hint of pop music I got into. And then after that, it was like full-fledged pop. It was like, I was listening to like, as I got older, it would be like the 1975 and
Yeah.
the Neighborhood, still very much with an alternative side to it. And I think because of the jazz background, I was pulling a lot of like R&B influences as well, and like British rock elements. And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier with like the things you were saying about the rock meets alt pop and R&B. It's always been a big part of my DNA, Radiohead, massive inspiration. So I think that's really where it all started, to be honest, and it's kind of gone from there.
Do you remember the first piece that you learned that like wasn't a classical piece on piano?
Yes, the first thing I learned on the piano was actually a song that my dad had made, and I'm
Aw.
actually at my piano here. I'm going to play it for you, and it just went like this. It was like the most cheesy thing ever,
I love that.
and then I just wanted to like all that shit over the top. That's all I wanted to do was just like play jazz music over it, and my dad was like, less is more, less is more.
Well, I'm really curious what your process is like right now as a singer-songwriter. Like where are you recording? What's kind of like the groove of it all today?
Yeah, I mean, I write and produce a lot of my own stuff, but I also work with like so many different top liners, writers and producers. And it brought me to the States really was Berklee College of Music, because I moved over when I was when I was 18.
Okay.
I got a scholarship to go, which is the thing that changed it all, because I don't come from money, so that was never on the table. And then when I got to Berklee, I met my now kind of manager, who was, I guess it was like a right place, right time kind of situation. But we met in a very sort of right place, right time string of events, and he works between New York and LA, and he had an indie label called Slumbo Labs, which loads of cool artists have come through, including
Really?
Isabella Rosa, Ari Abdul. So that's where I put my music on, and so he's been a massive part of my development and continues to be. His name is Jake, and he started putting me in different rooms and different like writing sessions and camps. So I got to meet all these like cool writers in LA when I moved here about a year ago, which has definitely helped inform my sound. I think in terms of process, like I'm still very like process oriented and like driven.
Yeah.
So like I write a lot at home. I'm in my apartment right now. It's out of sight, but I have my piano in front of me, and often like it's just me in my apartment with my keyboard, like scouting ideas out on voice notes. And sometimes like I'll just like do a little beatbox. I play drums as well, but I
That's awesome.
don't really have the space for a drum kit in here, so I'll just like beatbox an idea, like scatter some ideas out in a voice note, bring it into the studio, and then be like, this is an idea. Sometimes I don't even take it to the studio and I produce it myself. Sometimes you don't have an idea and you just walk in the room and a great songwriter I've been working with recently. His name is Dave Gibson, Scottish songwriter based in the US, and has written some amazing songs, notably a lot of the James Arthur stuff. And he gets me, I think, and I think it's because he has that British side to him, which
Yeah.
is quite nuanced. And don't get me wrong, I love working with American writers as well, but there's
Uh-huh.
definitely a side of like British writing which I think is very specific to UK writers, and it just comes from a place of like growing up in the UK and just having to be British and understanding like
Yeah.
that cultural relevance of being from the UK. That is, it's kind of, you're just born with it. It's like being from
Yeah.
anywhere. I guess Americans would probably say the same thing. So he's been a big part of my writing journey as well, amongst many other people. And I guess that's been a big part of my last like 12 months as well.
That's awesome. And going back to like what you were saying about that, like British writing is like we're definitely seeing that come across right now with artists like Olivia Dean and
Totally.
Sam Fender, and like you mentioned, James
Hmm.
Arthur. Like these guys are just like pumping out works that like feel like sonically in their own universe, and I definitely can see you in that universe, which is really cool. It
Thanks.
kind of leads me to my next question. You released two singles recently, Can't
Hmm.
Say No and Break Your Own Heart, which polarly are like one's a ballad, one is super upbeat. I would ballad in quotation marks.
Sure. Yeah.
What is kind of like your process like right now with your production, and
Yeah. I mean,
how's your inspiration like coming
mhm.
through in that?
Yeah, good question. I mean, Can't Say No is a funny one because it came to the end of last year and, wind down to Christmas, like
Uh-huh.
everyone's kind of like wrapping up projects and like studios are closing and like everyone's just like trying to go home and like
Yeah.
drink lots of alcohol and eat lots of food. And I was about to leave to go back home, to Preston, which is a very small city near Manchester in the north of the UK, which is where I'm originally from. And before that happened, I wrote this song with a producer called Keith Varron, who I've written a lot of songs with, and another dear friend of mine, Chloe, who is a fantastic writer. And we wrote this song, bit like it was one of those sessions where like you finish the song and it's like, this is a good song, like we're really excited, but like
Uh-huh.
it wasn't like, oh my god, this is going to be the song that gets New Music Friday for the first time, because I just think the timing of it was like coming to the end of the year and we were going to
Yeah.
just put it out at the start of the year. I think we put it out on like the 2nd of January, like right after New
Wow.
Year's. And I was in the UK, I hadn't come back to Los Angeles yet, and I woke up and it was like on New Music Friday, which was the first time I ever got a New Music Friday US, which is the global one, and amongst many other playlists, which was just insane. And I was just like, oh my god. And it's been one of my biggest streaming songs so far. So massive shout out to Spotify. We love those people over there. And I think when we wrote that, it was just like a very easy write. And I think that sometimes the songs that just come out the best is when you just don't overthink it. You
Yeah.
don't like, you don't think, oh, we need this to be like this, and like it's just, you go in, it felt natural. The song is actually, quite a relatable song. Can't Say No. It's essentially about being obsessed with an ex-lover who is just a terrible influence on you, yet like you, regardless of what your friends say, which I think we've all been through after post
Yeah.
breakup, you find yourself back at their place, doing the thing. And uh, that had been a recent occurrence, like for me around that time. And it just felt very raw. It's quite edgy. It's got that kind of grungy guitar going through it. But then like it has the kind of shreddy piano solo towards the end.
Yeah.
And it's got a real, I don't know, it's quite upbeat. Feels like a fun one to put out. Definitely was fun to play it live. I think Break Your Own Heart is a big contrast to it. And yes, it is like you said, a ballad. Um, I think that shows a bit of a different side of my writing. That I wrote with Dave Gibson and I produced that myself. Actually, it's one of the first songs I put out fully produced by myself, which
Wow.
is really exciting because I'm always a bit like my singing and stuff, like I've done for a while, like I've grown up doing it. So I'm kind of like, I feel confident that like I can deliver that. But production is just like, like I've done it since I was a kid. But when you're in LA, you meet all these like giants and you're just like, you just feel like a tiny, tiny, tiny person. And
Yeah.
so when you put that out and it's your own production, I get a little insecure sometimes that I'm like, is this good? Like, you know, and I guess Spotify also like that one because that's on number 3 on Sad Hour right now, and
That's awesome.
just woke up and it's on Fresh Finds Pop as well, like, which is bananas. So yeah, very different writing style. Quite personal song to me. I won't go too much into the actual story, but I do think it's a universally relatable song in the sense, essentially about watching someone you love become a stranger. And for me, it wasn't a romantic thing, but I think the way it's written, it can definitely be perceived that way, which I think for
Yeah.
me is when you write a song, like, write it from your truth, but make it so that it's survivable, and also like other people who might not be going through like the exact same situation you're going through, but like a similar thing. It makes it universally
Yes. Yeah.
like applicable, you know?
It's the best way to explain it is it's kind of like a Mad Libs. It's like a fill in the gap. Like you
Yes.
create the foundation for what you're hoping the audience takes the journey on, but you let them fill in the blank of like what that journey is for them personally, which is
Totally.
really
Yeah.
cool.
I couldn't
Really
put it
cool as
better
an
myself.
artist.
That's actually, I've never thought of it that way. That's very, very good. I'm gonna start using that. I'm stealing that.
Do it. Take it and run. Well, what should we be on the lookout for from you in 2026?
Yes, lots. I mean, you obviously just saw us play last week. That was probably the first or second show we've done this year. I'm aiming to try and do a show every month in Los Angeles at the moment because I'm new here, and like I'm just
Yeah.
trying to play as much as possible. So far sounds have been like incredible and been showing a lot of support. So I'm actually playing a So Far Sounds show on the 13th of this
This
month,
Friday.
coming up this Friday. Yeah, which will be kind of like the LA set that you just saw, but like
Mhm.
slightly more stripped back because I think those vibes are a little bit more intimate. But we've already done a couple this year, and I did one with do you know Morgan J? He's a
Yes.
the amazing like comedian and also fantastic musician, and he did this show a few weeks ago that I was on the bill for, and he's so funny. He didn't do the auto tune this time, but like going in the crowd doing all that, like I think that's what he's really known for. And I was kind of
Yeah, I was
hoping
gonna say that's what I know him for.
yeah, it was still great. He just sat there with his guitar doing it. But we did that was another Soapar Sound show we did, and it was at LAMP in Santa Monica, and it was just like so great meeting like people same age as me who are like also like kind of getting into it and
Yeah.
just starting out. And yeah, so many more shows. I think that's definitely going to be the biggest one. Lots more music. Don't you worry about that. We're going to be putting plenty of music out. And most importantly, I can't announce the artist yet because I don't think I'm allowed to yet. But I will be doing my first ever support tour in
Wow.
April, which is very, very exciting. And I'm opening for an incredible act who I'm very excited to announce. And we're going to be doing one of their legs of their US North American tour
That's awesome.
early April. So exciting things ahead, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the lookout for that one. I'm ready for that announcement.
Yes.
All right, well, it's time for my favorite part of the interview. I asked you to bring 3 songs from 3 other artists, so feel free to elaborate and tell us why you chose these.
Yeah. First one, pulling from my R&B side, is Private by the Kid Laroi. He just dropped
Okay.
his new album, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's obviously a breakup album, and it's basically I think it's written about Tate McRae, to be honest. But yeah, great song, massive like 1980s sonic vision, pulling like so much from like the kind of MJ, Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones style production with like
Yeah.
the Juno 60 in there, and it just feels so nostalgic in a way that I think is just like really, really sick. That's definitely my number one. It's been on repeat. Number two would be Down a Hill by Sienna Spiro.
Oh, great song.
And that is, I think, one of the best songs I've heard this
Have
year.
you put out a cover to that one yet?
It's on the list. It's on the
Okay.
list. Yeah. I think that's like a classic example of just like elite songwriting, and like her voice is just like unbelievable. Funnily enough, Break Your Own Heart, which just came out last week, is is right next to it on Sad Out,
That's
which
so
is
cool.
unbelievable. I don't really feel like I deserve that, to be honest. I think that's a tough song to live up to. She's just incredible, though, and I'd love to see her live. I know a few people who've worked with her, and they just say that like how she sounds on the record is just exactly how she sounds.
That's so cool.
So number three would be, I think, our national treasure at the moment, me being a Brit, which would be, as you already mentioned,
Yep.
Olivia Dean. Um, Absolutely deserved, I think, the win the other night at the Grammys as well. Just
I
unbelievable.
think I have her on the wall. Yep, she's up on the wall
I
right
hope
now.
so. She is actually, I would love to meet her one day and just
Do you have
rave
tickets to the
about.
tour?
I don't,
Uh,
but I'm hoping to catch maybe one of her shows soonish. I mean, she is just what I love about it is it's just like I think I saw something on TikTok recently that summarized her music perfectly, and it's walking through New York City in the autumn or fall, as you guys
yeah,
say. With like a North Face jacket on, it's cold, but you've got like a cup of coffee in your hand,
yeah.
and you're walking through Central Park. That is exactly how her music sounds
That's a
in my
good
head.
description.
And I just think she's just so talented. And it just feels like real music, you know, man. It just
Yeah,
feels like something that was put together with love, and it's just like so good. And the her band are so good, like they're
yeah,
all real musos, and it just is like it's just it's just a breath of fresh air. And I just think it's awesome that, you know, the UK is able to champion a female artist,
uh-huh.
because she's just rocking it. She's killing it, and I'm just very, very privileged to say I'm from the same country that
Yeah.
she's from. You know.
And it's a beautiful no skip,
Yes.
it's like the whole thing together is like just this perfect time capsule of what love is, but at the same time each song like fully stands out on their own. This is no shade to Noah Khan. I love Stick Season, but a
Mhm.
lot of the songs kind of roll into each other in the sense that
Right.
they sound very similar, whereas The Art of Loving is just like we go from Man I Need into a couple of minutes. Like,
Totally. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
She's so talented, and it's also again the jazz side of me is loving the soulful
uh-huh.
like jazzism to R&B isms that's in the production and like in the playing. Even on the record, I think there's a real like I think people are becoming way more tolerant today of like more like left of center isms on
Yeah.
songs, you know, and like the jazzisms that she puts in. And that's why I honestly gives me the confidence to do the same thing. If someone like her size can do that, I often think like let's fuck it, let's
Let's
do
do
it,
it.
you know.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so sick. Well, Harvey, thank you so much for coming, for chatting with me. Again, I told you this off camera, but I made a promise to myself. Anytime you're playing in LA, I'm there. So it sounds like I got a nice year of trips down to the city
Zay,
in the
you're a
studio.
legend. Thank you so much for
I
having me, and I
appreciate it.
really appreciate your very kind words as well. And thanks again for coming to the show the other day.
No,
That's very
no.
real of you.
Thanks for inviting me again. And I love it. And I hope everyone enjoys Can't Say No.
Just outside of San Juan, Puerto Rico, where the people say
The Record, a radio playlist where I help you discover new artists and new music. I'm super excited because I'm sitting here with Puerto Rican country reggaeton artist Cash Cortez. Dude, how are you doing today?
Amazing, amazing. Trying to get my barbecue to set up, but we're having a great time out here.
What has been super fun about seeing your social media lately is like watching the world discover you. If I'm correct, you're like rising on the iTunes charts right now. How's that been feeling lately?
It's been feeling amazing. There's been such a overwhelming amount of love that's been pouring into the project that I've been working on, the whole Cash Cortez thing, and everything that's been going into it. Man, the music, the brand, letting people know that I'm Puerto Rican and that I also love country music, and people have really embraced what I've been doing. And
Yeah.
there's no better feeling than making art and it being accepted by so many people.
My first like big question for you would be who were your musical influences growing up? And I love asking this with the twist of like not the artists you were discovering, but growing up, who was playing music around you and what were you listening to?
Man, growing up, I had a melting pot of music. My parents are both from Puerto Rico. So, during the holidays, we listen to all the holiday music that's from Puerto Rico. My dad grew up next to Gran Combo. which they're a very, very famous salsa band. Bad Bunny actually sampled one of their songs in his album. Así te quiere divertir. Na, 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 na,
I
na,
love
na,
it.
na. Yeah, that Nueva York, Nueva York. So that's actually a Gran Combo. So my dad grew up next to them. So I heard a lot of Gran Combo. I heard a lot of Mark Anthony, Fonsi, um, and then also Mexican artists like Alejandro Fernandez. And it's
Mm.
just, I had this melting pot because then that was playing at home and during the holidays. But then I also had like country music on the radio. My mom liked to listen to the 101.5 or something like that. And it was like light FM music from, and I was born in the 90s. So this is in the 90s. So we're talking like the 70s, 80s, and today.
Yeah.
So I had 70s and 80s music. I got the Bee Gees. You got Donna Summer. You got alternative rock bands. So I grew up with everything, man. And
That's awesome.
I kind of just, I drew influence from all of it. And I see in my music now all those influences kind of coming together.
Yeah, that kind of like segues into my next question is like you're really paving the way for this like genre blend like for you and again like where are those inspirations kind of trickling in from?
Yeah, when I was in middle school, I started kind of delving into like reggaeton, Daddy Yankee being like the number one artist that I was listening to at the time. I heard Gasolina was like the biggest thing at the time that I
Yeah.
was like, oh man, Gasolina. I even snuck it on my iPod. My parents were not really okay with me listening to, hip hop and reggaeton. If they ever heard me playing it, they're like, turn that off or, make sure you delete that or whatever. But I had it. I had it on my iPod. I remember one time I was in Orlando listening to Gasolina, and I had that thing on repeat, bro. So there was that, and all the other reggaeton artists that Nicky Jam is another one. We got Daddy Yankee. We got they're not coming to me right now, but there's so many legends out there, bro. Like De La Ghetto, and those guys were underground.
Yeah.
Like that was like the underground music that was not really widely accepted on the island either. And I didn't know at the time, but knowing that now, I was actually just at the Super Bowl watch party with Jay Keelis, and Jay Keelis is another reggaeton
That's
artist that was
awesome.
around. And Jay was talking about it. He's like, man, like you can't. Back then, it was really underground. Like you had to do this stuff like kind of in secret because it was not accepted. I mean, people got in trouble for playing or performing reggaeton music. And I thought that was so cool because you look at outlaws like Johnny Cash, the Highwaymen, and you look at Hank. These guys were outlaw.
Yeah.
Like these guys were not. They were playing something very different from what was on the radio or what was accepted, and the lyrics that were written too. There was a lot of like gospel related stuff, and these guys were talking about smoking and drinking and all that stuff. So I don't know. There was just this like, there's this desire in me to take all these really cool outlaw, badass things that I grew up listening to and just mixing them into one. And that's what I've been trying to do. And I think I've been doing okay with it.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your newest song, Narco. What is like the writing process like for that? And what are you hoping audiences take out of it?
Absolutely. So for Narco, that song was born because my wife and I were binge watching Narco, the series, on Netflix. And I went to Nashville. I had a session set up like a whole week in the studio with Brian Bunn, who's the producer on the song, and Tyler Woodward, who's a producer and the writer as well. And I came in, I'm like, man, I kind of want to write a love song about my wife. I kind of, I'm like, let me look into my notes and see what I got. And I had Narco written in there, and a little note under it that said, Narco, you are like a drug dealer because you're dealing drugs, but the reality is it's not drugs, it's your wife, and you're dealing with her, and she has you feeling so high that you almost feel like a drug lord. And it was just these like notes that I had scattered. And so I told the guys, I'm like, look, what if we wrote a love song, but with the topic, the metaphor of I'm feeling like a narco? And I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. So Brian started laying down some track stuff, some guitar, some beats. And finally, we were like, oh, wait a second, there's something cool here. And the whole thing, I'm feeling like a nah, that just started coming out. And then we wrote the song. It's a love song. It's a love song to my wife about how beautiful, how intoxicating she is. That she makes me feel like I'm getting high so much. It's like I might as well be a narco, man. I might as well be a narco traficante.
That's awesome. Before we move on to our last question, I want to ask you this. What advice would you give to any brown music artists out there wanting to break into the scene and do very similar work that you're doing? Break out into a genre that is typically stereoclassed as white or not of ours.
Yeah, definitely. I would, and this advice I think goes across for anybody trying to make art where you maybe feel like your art doesn't fit. Screw it. Just do it. If you love what you do, if this is truly a reflection of your soul, like my art is a direct reflection of who I am growing up, my soul, the things that I love. Just do it, because you know what? That's been placed inside your soul and in your heart for a reason. And don't be the person to hide that from the world. That was put in you for a purpose. God gave you that as a gift, and it'd be selfish of us to hold that out for other people, because it's meant for other people to see. It's going to impact people. So that would be my advice. It's just any doubt that you have, any like, oh, this doesn't belong, I don't know if I should just do it. Just do it. Yeah. I promise you, it's going to be a blessing.
I love that, dude. Well, it's time for my favorite question. I asked you to bring 3 songs from 3 other artists, and feel free to elaborate a little bit on why you chose these.
This is going to be a hard one, because there's so much good music out there right now. But I do have to shout out a good friend. He's helped me. He helped me translate "Teach a Man to Pray." His name is Sammy Arriaga. Sammy is a Cuban American doing country music, like the classic stuff. It's got this whole classic vibe, and he's got a song called "Left My Heart in Texas," and it's so good. It's got like that real like classic country sound, and he also has done it in Spanish. So you got to check him out. He's a great artist, very talented songwriter, and he's got a whole vibe going. So definitely check Sammy Arriaga out. Another one, I have to say Chris Stapleton.
Yep.
And I'm not going to pick a specific song because I just love all his music. He's been a huge inspiration in everything that I do. So I got to shout out Chris Stapleton. And the next artist that comes to mind because of his versatility has to be Post Malone.
Yeah.
There is nothing Post Malone can't do. And I love that because, I grew up listening to all these different genres of music. I know that there's a rock project coming out in the future for me. I know that there's more country. I know that there's hip hop. I know that there's R&B possibly that's going to get blended in there. So for me, it's like Post Malone is that guy that can do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it works. So I look up to him. Post Malone's the dude.
I love that. Cash, thank you so much again for coming, for chatting with me. We're super proud of you. We love seeing what you're doing. This is only the beginning for you. And like you mentioned, like you're such a great artist at genre blending. Like you said, like Post Malone, I could see that in the future for you. I could see, like you said, that R&B album, that rock album. So, dude, just keep doing what you're doing. And I hope everybody enjoys Narcos.
Yes, absolutely. I hope they keep streaming. I do have Si Me Muero coming out on the 27th. That's self-produced and self-written. I feel like it's a Puerto Rican anthem. It's basically like if I die, bury me on the island, because I need to go back home. So
that's good.
Excited for that one to come out.
Yay! Well, I hope everyone enjoys.
Yeah.
It is time for my favorite segment of the week, 3 new artists, where I share with you 3 artists for you to keep your eyes on. I was talking to my buddy Jordan, and I was telling him this segment, although it is my favorite, it is the hardest segment to put together because, like, I listen to so much music every week, and what do you mean I only get to share 3 artists? 3 artists. But this week we got a stacked little lineup here, and it kind of like We're going to hop around a little bit, but trust me, it's going to work. So the first one is Benson, BNSN, and his song, I Think I Might Be in Love. Now, this song is a couple years old, but the reason why I'm bringing it into the mix is because he is about to release a lot of new music, and I definitely want us to like start getting prepared and get ready for it. If you are a fan of Lainey or the band Camino, this is going to be like right up your avenue, super fun, and like there's something about a lot of new music right now being like this pop boy driven track, and I think we haven't seen that in a couple years, and that's what I'm loving about this, so you're gonna enjoy it. Then we have Boko. Now, I discovered Boko at that listener lounge that I was talking to on last week's episode. He has like this Miguel energy that feels timeless. It's fun, it's groovy, it captivates you, and I encourage you to go listen to his full discography because it's honestly really hard to pick one song for you to listen to from him. And then last but not least, Jacob McCoy and his song Nothing's Wrong. This is that, like, if Lizzie McAlpine had an older brother, that's Jacob. That's the best way to describe it. This like beautiful folky vibe, lyrics that are fully captivating. I think you're really gonna enjoy this week's 3 new artists. Really quick, gotta rant. I saw Charlie XCX The Moment yesterday. Absolutely loved this mockumentary. I think what was so fun about it is it feels so real, yet you know this world is like not actually happening, but this is what happens in the real world of this industry, and the idea of like the anxiety behind it all was like super fun to watch, if that makes sense. So if it's showing at a theater near you, go see it. Charlie XCX The Moment. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode, and I'll see you guys next Thursday. Bye.